All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about a feeling I bet every single one of you has had, that deep personal ache for, well, for something more. We're going to see how this one feeling became the launch pad for a huge philosophical argument for God, a powerful critique of our entire society, and a really fascinating scientific puzzle. You know that feeling, right? That ache you get sometimes? Maybe you're looking at a sunset, or you hear a piece of music that just hits you in the chest. And you get this sense that what you're seeing or hearing is just an echo of something way bigger, way more real, but you just can't put your finger on it. Well, you are definitely not alone. Believe it or not, there's actually a word for this. It's a German word, Sehnsucht. And this isn't just about being nostalgic for something you've lost from your past. No, Sehnsucht is different. It's like a homesickness for a home you've never even been to. It's this deep feeling that we're all on a journey somewhere trying to get back to our true selves. And this feeling, this Sehnsucht, it's not just some lofty idea for poets, you know? It's been taken really seriously by philosophers. So seriously, in fact, that they've turned it into a full-blown argument for the existence of something more. Thinkers like the famous C.S. Lewis and more recently, the philosopher Peter Kreeft, they've really dug into this. They gave it a name, the argument from desire. And when you break it down, the logic is actually pretty simple and powerful. Okay, so how does this whole argument actually work? Well, it all boils down to a really important distinction, a split between two different kinds of desires that we all have. So the argument kicks off by splitting our desires into two big buckets. In one bucket, you have what they call natural or innate desires. These are the things that seem to be built into us, like hunger, thirst, the need for sleep, for friendship. They're universal. In the other bucket, you have artificial desires, the things we learn to want from our culture. You know, wanting a specific fancy car or wishing you could go to the land of Oz. And here's the kicker. This is the heart of the whole thing. The argument goes like this. For every single one of our natural, innate desires, there seems to be a real thing that satisfies it. We get hungry and food exists. We get thirsty and water exists. So the big question is, if this deep universal longing, this Sehnsucht, is also a natural desire, what's its satisfaction? The conclusion they draw is that it must be for something real, something transcendent, something divine. It's a really compelling idea, right? But what if that's not the whole story? What if I told you that this whole distinction between what we truly need and what we're just told to want has a much longer and, frankly, a much more revolutionary history? A history that wasn't looking up towards heaven, but was looking with a super critical eye at the society we live in right here on Earth. Yeah, because it turns out this exact same idea, this distinction between true and false needs, has been used for centuries, not as an argument for God, but as a weapon, a powerful tool for social and political critique. I mean, look at this history. For centuries, thinkers have been using this true versus false needs thing to critique the world around them. You've got the ancient Stoics, who are all about living a simple life without artificial wants. Then Rousseau comes along and blames civilization itself for messing up our desires. And for Karl Marx, well, for Marx, this distinction was the key to unlocking the whole problem of capitalism. So, take Rousseau. For him, the problem was society. He said, we're born with a healthy, natural self-love. He called it amour de soi. But then society gets its hands on us with all its competition and jealousy, and it twists that natural feeling into something ugly, amour-propre. That's when we stop wanting things for ourselves and start wanting them just to look better than our neighbors. And for Rousseau, that's the root of all our problems. And then you've got Karl Marx, who took this idea and just ran with it. He argued that the whole capitalist system is basically designed to make us feel like we need things we don't. It has to constantly invent new, inhuman needs so it can sell us more stuff. And in doing that, Marx said, it separates us, it alienates us from our true human nature. So we've got these two huge competing stories, right? Is this deep longing a clue pointing to God? Or is it a feeling of alienation cooked up by a broken society? Well, guess what? The 21st century has thrown a couple of new players into the ring, the neurologist and the evolutionary psychologist, and they have their own idea. So here we are today, and the whole debate really boils down to a showdown between three compelling but wildly different explanations for why we feel this deep, unshakable ache for something more. Okay, explanation number one, the divine clue. This is the argument we started with. The idea here is that this feeling is a feature, not a bug.
It's hardwired into us for a reason, to act as a signpost, a little breadcrumb trail pointing us toward the transcendent reality that is our true home.
Then we have explanation number 2, the dopamine glitch. This one comes straight from neuroscience. Maybe this profound feeling is actually a kind of biological quirk. You know our brain's reward system, the dopamine rush that tells us to go get food or water? Well, that system can be hijacked. It can give us false positives, making us crave things that don't actually satisfy any real need. It's the same mechanism behind addiction. So maybe our Sehnsucht is just a beautiful, poetic version of that. And finally, explanation number 3, the evolutionary mismatch. From this perspective, it's all about our ancient programming. Our brains evolved over hundreds of thousands of years on the savannah. But our modern world, with its screens, its cities, its social media, is a totally alien environment. The idea is that this creates a fundamental mismatch, leaving us with these ancient, deep-seated longings for community, for nature, for purpose, that modern life just can't fulfill. Wow, a clue, a glitch, or a mismatch. 3 completely different stories for the exact same profound feeling. So how on earth are you supposed to decide which one makes the most sense? Well, lucky for us, philosophy actually has a neat little tool for exactly this kind of problem, when you've got a mysterious fact about the world and a bunch of different stories that try to explain it. It's called inference to the best explanation. And it's not about which story sounds the coolest or which one you want to be true. It's about asking a tougher question. Which of these hypotheses, the clue, the glitch, or the mismatch, makes the existence of this universal feeling the most expected outcome? In other words, if one of these stories were true, which one would make you go, oh, well, of course we feel Sehnsucht. That's just a matter of course. At the end of the day, each story has its own weight, its own power, and really big implications for how we see ourselves. So the final question, that's for you. When you feel that deep ache for something more, what's your inference to the best explanation? Is it a signpost pointing to another reality, or is it just the most beautiful glitch in the human machine?